Okay.
What have you seen from Trey Lance in training camp, the good and the not so good? Let's start with the good.
The good, I mean, the first one's obvious, right? His ball last year wobbled like crazy.
Yeah.
This year, he throws a tight spiral all the time. There's no wobble. It's all gone. So was that the finger? Was that Christensen? Was that, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but good. Okay. Because I'll say this. The drop percentage of Trey Lance last year was 10%. It was like the third highest in the entire league.
Rookie year
You cannot throw a high-speed wobble. I don't care.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. You know, you could have the greatest receivers of all time. The hardest ball to catch is a ball that's hot and wobbling. That's impossible to catch in bad weather. It's impossible to catch in wet weather. He had to eradicate that. He had to throw a better ball. He does. That's one. Two, I see a guy who obviously knows the offense. It's like taking, Spanish 1, and then you come back and you take it again in summer school. Well, when you take it in summer school, now you kind of know Spanish 1, right? And you're like, you kind of know it a little bit better because you're taking the course a second time. He's taking Kyle Shanahan 1.0 a second time. And so he knows the offense. So he knows where to go. He's not under mental duress. He knows where to go. He knows the progressions. He knows what he's doing. And then I see a guy who throws all of the deep cuts, all of the intermediate passes and all of the, 20-yard ins and outs, everything that you can throw on a line, he throws better than every other quarterback on the field. There's no question in my mind. He throws it better. He throws it harder. He throws it as accurate as any of those guys. So that's what I noticed. The downside
Can
is
I add a couple things to the goods?
Yeah,
Let me add a couple, and then we'll do the
and also
together.
One last one. When in the move the ball drill, he is running at appropriate times for first downs. And he now, after watching Purdy, I think understands that you don't need to have all this and that. You just need to keep getting first downs. And then eventually when you get to the goal line, punch it in. Points will determine who the best quarterback is. And he's playing a kind of game right now that will lead to points.
Love it. Okay. A couple more things to add to the good before we get to the not so good. I believe his release is just quicker in general. Not only is he throwing a better spiral, but the ball is coming out of his hands quicker when he decides to throw the ball. He went from having the longest release on the team to maybe the shortest, which is nice. I think he's better at the short throws in general. He's not perfect. He's not the best. Like Darnold and Purdy are both better at the short throws than Lance, but Lance is much better at the short throws than he was last year. And I think he's just more accurate in general. And I think it's fair to say that he's made as big of strides between last year and this year as anyone on the team.
No doubt. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Okay.
The only thing I don't like what I'm seeing is he still throws from the same arm slot all the time instead of, sometimes you got to go
robotic.
Sometimes you gotta be Mahomes. You gotta shuffle pass it. You gotta do whatever it freaking takes.
Be natural
to get a first down. Right. Anyway, it doesn't matter what it looks like. All that matters is the results. The style points mean nothing. And he's struggling on this. It's like guys who throw really hard and have a great arm oftentimes struggle with command when you have to take a little off. And that's what I'm seeing is that when he has to throw at 60%, he sometimes throws it high, sometimes throws it low. Sometimes he airmails it because he doesn't follow through like he did at Debo. Other times he throws it at a guy's feet. That's the throw that he knows he doesn't throw well. And I think it's in his head a little bit still.
I think he's a little bit like Alex Smith or like Carson Wentz in the sense that they came from these small schools where everything was perfect and they had time and the guy was open. They could see it. They could throw it. And I just feel like his internal clock is still a little slow compared to Purdy and even Darnold. Like, I just feel like I always want the ball to come out. Well, not always, but when he's not clicking, I want the ball to come out a beat early and like he's checking down a beat late. And I don't know if it's hesitation, lack of confidence, not knowing what he's seeing, not trusting what he's seeing. But when he's on, there's a rhythm to his game that matches Purdy and Darnold. And when he's off, I feel like he's the one hesitating. And I feel like maybe that was his body clock on the field at North Dakota State. I think he had all the time in the freaking world to set up and throw from the same arm slot. And you can't do that anymore. So I think that's always going to be a work in progress for him, just like the internal clock.
Yeah,
Speed it
that's
up.
a good point. I'll
Get
one
the ball
more
out of your
too.
hands.
It takes a long, people don't necessarily get this one, but it takes a long time to understand the nuances of your receivers. Have you noticed who he looks best throwing it to?
Tay Martin, Chris Conley.
Tay Martin and Braden Willis. But I mean, Tay Martin, and who did he work with in TCU? Tay Martin. I think he's got a confidence about Tay Martin's ball skills, his catch radius, his size.
He's just worked with him.
His instincts. They have repped.
Time on task.
They've repped it. And so he looks really good going to Tay Martin.
Yeah, good call. This is a little bit different, but like what I see with Trey, I don't see a guy who's happy. They were talking about, Kittle said something earlier, like during OTAs when Trey was QB1, they were saying, man, he looks confident. He looks happy, the happiest he's looked in a long time. Now Brock's back. And Trey's over here in this like weird competition for QB2. And I don't know that he's winning it, even though he's like improving. And he doesn't look happy to me anymore. His body language looks weird. And to me, like the fact that the Niners are praising Brock, he's the real deal. And Sam, he's the next Steve Young, but not Trey. It feels like a breakup. Tell me if you know what I'm talking about. It feels like they want to break up both sides. Trey wants out. The Niners want to get rid of him. But they both kind of want to blame the other side for the breakup. Like it's not our fault. It's Trey. Trey sucks. We did everything we could. Trey just isn't good. And Trey's trying to be like, no, I went to Jeff Christensen. I'm improving. They gave me the wrong coaching. They ruined me. And I feel like they're both kind of like trying to play this game where they're blaming the other side. I wouldn't be surprised if Trey asked for a trade and the Niners said no. And they're not really interested in pumping him up and making him look good because they're going to break up eventually. Like he's out. But they just need to make it look like it's Trey's fault first. Trey just didn't work out. We did everything we could. And Trey complicated the issue by saying, actually, I just got better. I just worked with Jeff Christensen. You didn't tell me to do it. It was my idea, and now I'm getting better, and now you're in a tough spot. What are you going to do? Are you going to cut me? Are you just keep me? You're going to shelve me? What are you going to do? So I think it's an interesting little dance they're doing. That's the way I see it. A little dance.
It's funny that you mentioned, I don't see it that way quite. I see it like,
it's okay.
Last year was about Trey and this year's not about Trey.
Nope.
And you see it, there's no read option.
Nope.
There's, I get the sense, in some of the
warm-up
throws when he's throwing to Greasy, he threw one today in the back of the end zone and Greasy kind of made him, it was a little bit off to the side and Greasy was went incomplete kind of a thing. Like, I don't know if it was too high or whatever, but I think Greasy's giving him a little tough love. I think Shanahan's giving him a little tough love. I think he senses there's a difference in the whole agenda is not geared towards him. And it's like they're challenged, but guess what? That's okay. This is football. They're challenging you, Trey, to get better. They're not, I think there was maybe a little bit, and I don't know Trey, and I don't know the Niners, and I don't know how they handled them. But maybe last year was like, hey, this is like this awesome job that you inherited. And this year it's like, no, you're not inheriting anything. You're going to earn it. And maybe he senses that. And maybe that's, they're not resentment, but maybe there's a little like, okay, you guys are about you, and maybe I'm a little bit about me. But he's getting an up close look at how cold and hard the NFL world really is.
Extremely cold and hard. And I think what he was expecting, I think he's a reasonable guy. He's like, look, I understand you handed me this job and I got hurt and Brock played well. I don't expect you to hand me the job again. I expect you to give me an opportunity to compete for it. And I think the Niners are like, yeah, all right, we'll give you an opportunity to compete for the backup job. Kinda. And I think he feels like, wait a second, you lied to me. And I think the Niners are like, well, we don't owe you shit. Sorry. We gave you $22 million. We gave you opportunities. You didn't do anything with it. Brock did. Deal with it. So I think there's a little bit of like animosity. I'm guessing. It just feels like Sam's so juiced to be out there. He's got this pep in his step, and Brock's so freaking confident all the time. And Trey just looks like he needs a hug. Trey looks like he needs a hug so bad, and I want to give it to him, but I would get my credential taken away if I tried.
That would be awesome if you just went and tried to hug him.
Trey, come here. Come here.
I think he changed. I think he sent, and this is just me standing on the sidelines in the middle of heat, sweating, observing this. But I think he senses there's a new world order. And it's like, hey, you want it, go take it. and we're not handing it to you. And you know what? Maybe that's the way it should be. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because look, the guy's improving and he's improving dramatically. Now, are we going to give all the credit to Christensen? I don't know.
Let's give the credit to Trey for buying in and doing the work. Because last year, I don't know. What we saw from Trey last year was Trey on Instagram, Trey in a new fit, Trey taking pictures of himself, Trey at a club, Trey making it rain. And it wasn't a good look. And now we don't see any of that shit. And what he does look, I can't help but notice he's much thinner in the face. Much thinner in the face. Which to me means probably better diet, whatever that means. You know what I'm saying? A little more locked in. I can't help but notice he's way more locked in.
This is why I like this guy as a franchise quarterback, because I think he's going to check all the boxes. If football's not important to you, you know, you go do whatever the hell you want. And you're like, I got the money. I've already secured the bag. There's all kinds of guys. You know, Ben Simmons doesn't work at shooting free throws. Right. Why? Because he's got $147 million in the bank. And he's like, I've already won. What do I need this for? Trey's not about the cash. Trey's about being a great quarterback. It's a testament to his character. And so he's working at it. I think it's actually, I'll say this too. I like what they're doing this year. I didn't like running Trey Lance. I didn't believe in quarterback power running between the tackles. Play Trey the same way you play your other quarterbacks. Let him play from the pocket. And if he makes it or fails, let him do it from the pocket. Do not turn him into Larry Zonka meets 2023. It's not sustainable. He's going to get hurt again. It doesn't play to his skill set. I like the idea of making him play from the pocket more than snapping it to him 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage and say, hey, you're Marcus Allen. Go find a hole and slither up in there. No, I don't want to see him slither up in there. I think this guy can play from the pocket.
Me too. And I don't think he's going to be Anthony Richardson or Lamar Jackson. I'm with you. He needs to be a guy who uses his legs second.